Plow. We take this model that was taken at a university in South Africa, where they did an experiment. And they had 2 pieces of land, both on a 4% slope, and they put a simulated storm trial on them. And what happens is this one was plowed, and this one wasn't plowed. So it had last year's crop stover on the top and last year's roots in there. This one they plowed, they turned it upside down. Your anaerobic went to the top, your aerobic went to the bottom, like I described, and you've destroyed the fertilizer factory that God has put in place. So what they did was then they gave it rain, 63 millimeters in 30 minutes, quite a hard storm. And then they measured the runoff. Now what happens here, your rain comes down and it hits against your newly plowed soil. It's all soft and fluffy, and millions of little bullets, your rains come sometimes from 5 kilometers up, and it's hard and it's heavy. And it belts it out, and your kinetic energy builds up. And a little rivulet starts, and another one starts, and another one starts. That is erosion. And your soil slumps from the heaviness of the rain. And then, because you've destroyed your soil structure, there's no opportunity for the water to infiltrate. So it starts to run off. And then they measured 90% of the water runs off. Only 10% goes into the ground. So when you're getting 100 mils of rain, you're only utilizing 10 mils, the rest is running off. And so you get this enormous runoff. Then in that 90%, they measured how much soil was there with erosion. And they measured 28.5 tons of topsoil per hectare ran off with that water. So every time it rains, you're losing 28.5 tons of topsoil per hectare per storm. Can you imagine how much soil you're losing? And if we put it just into a Zimbabwe context, if you could imagine a goods train, a train that is that can circumnavigate the world twice. In other words, a train that is 80,000 kilometers long. If you can imagine a train that long, then you fill every wagon with soil. That's what Zimbabwe loses in one season. Down the rivers into the ocean. So we're losing our most precious resource. This is not stewarding our land. And so you lose that 28.5 tons of topsoil. It's cost you $133 a hectare to do this operation. It's cost you money to destroy your soil. Now, what happens in this situation, the rain comes down again, but now it hits something soft. And so you get no kinetic energy. And you get the water now hits your soil with no velocity. And because you've got last year's roots there, the water can seep down. And because you've got worms and beetles that are going up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, they're making channels. They're going down, they excrete. They come up and they eat more mulch, and they go down and they excrete. They're leaving channels. They're turning the mulch into the form that your root can take up. And then the rain comes down, same thing happens, and they measured only 6% ran off. 94% went into the soil. Then only 1 ton a hectare of topsoil was washed off, as opposed to 28.5 tons of topsoil. Can you see the dramatic, massive turnaround? So now what happens, your water table drops. In this situation, your water table rises. So when you have a dry period, your roots have got a bank, a reserve of water there. Here, when you have a dry spell, your roots have got nothing to draw on, and then they get stunted. You get a stunted, droughted plant, and then we say, oh no, we've had another drought. It's not. It's a man-made drought. We haven't utilized what God's given us.
What is the transition from having this scenario full of greens and plants and liane and creepers, and now you want to plant chili trees or whatever? What is the transition then?
So I will teach you that now.